camera store. I absolutely paid by myself. So I have invoice here. So this is the Ultimate Ninja 5. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are very familiar with this thing. It's basically just a monitor plus a external recorder all in one. For Panasonic, Canon cameras, you can record maybe a raw out of HDMI and get 10-bit colors. But for Sony, unfortunately, except A7III, you're not getting much of features out of Ninja 5. A7 III, for example, it records 8-bit 420 internally. So if you use Ultimate Ninja 5, you can get 8-bit 422. It's slightly better, but not much of difference. I'm not going to talk about this. I'm not doing a review of this in this video. The thing is, I can use this to record what's ever happening on the screen of this, which is the A7 III. And this is gonna help me to film this video, to show you guys all my personalized settings on this A7 III. You could do the same too. All my settings here I show you in this video is going to be dedicated for video shootings. That's all including all the customized buttons assigned specifically for the A7 III. There are different custom buttons on the A6000 series cameras and A7R3 and R4, but if you own A7 III, then it's the same. I'm just gonna hook this thing up to my A7 III and let's get going, shall we? Alright, so now I've got all the settings here on the Ultimate Ninja 5 and connect to my camera here using HDMI. Now you're able to see, I'm going to be recording this, so you're now able to see my screen on the A7 III. So I can show you guys step by step how to change those settings. Alright, so this is the screen that you're gonna see when you first turn on your A7 III. You can choose different languages. So let's go ahead with English and set area, enter, and day 10. Okay, enter. Okay. Okay, so after the initial setup, you can already starting to use your camera to shoot photos and videos, but we still need to change some settings here to fit for our needs. And before we do that, make sure your dials here, this mode selection dial needs to be set to movie mode. Once you're in movie mode, hit menus. We are not going to change anything yet in the photo mode because the first one is for photos. We want to go to the second one, which is for videos. First one is exposure mode. We want to go to menu so you have full menu control on all the settings. Let's go to file format. For me, I'm going to choose the best of video qualities that this camera can get, which is 4K. I choose 24 and make sure you choose 24 at 100 megabit per second bitrate. That's the best quality you're gonna have. So A7 III 24 100 megabyte is using the full frame, no crop, no pixel banning, capture 6K, downsampling to 4K. So that's the best quality you can get out of the A7 III by using 24 frame. That's here we use the format in North American standards. If you're in Europe or if you're in Asia, like Japan or like China, then it's a 25 and 50 and 100. Next, we want to go to SNQ settings. SNQ is a quick and slow. You have the switch here on the mode select dial here. Goes into that. We want to choose to 24p and the frame rate is 120 frames. So you can choose that to 60 frames. We want to slow down from 60 to 24 or slow it down from 120 to 24. So if you're in the menu system, you press menu again, is exit the sub menu. So you go back to the previous menu. Okay, so proxy recording, let's just leave that. Next, go to movie 2. Autofocus drive speed, we want to choose to fast. And track sensitivity, let's go chose to responsive and leave that. audio record level. The internal record level is pretty high. So if you're using external microphone to record your audios, you're gonna pick your audios a lot of times. Back down. So usually I go down to maybe like around 15 or 16. Some people that goes even lower than that. For me, just 16 is good enough for me. Keep the audio level display on and go to next page. Audio out timing, leave that. And wind noise reduction, let's turn it on. Everything else, let's leave it, not going to change it. And movie with shutters, let's turn it on. So you can use your shutter to starting and stop record videos. Myself, I prefer to just use shutter button to stop recording. It's much easier, so when I reverse my camera shooting myself, I don't need to reach my fingers to back of there and trying to find where the recording button is. Next page, we're not going to change anything here. Zoom, nothing. And display button and zebra settings, depends on your preference. You can turn on zebras or turn it off. I'm just gonna leave it off like this right now. Hey, it's Future Me here. So there's one thing I forgot to mention in the video is because I connect the camera through HDMI to the Atomos Ninja 5. So if you're using HDMI connect to any sort of external monitor or external recorder, what happened is before the zebra setting, which is the second one, the finder and the monitor setting here will be graded out. You cannot change that setting there, but once you unplug the HDMI, you are able to change this setting here. But for you guys, when you first get your camera or you want to change the setting here, so this will be lights up. So you're able to change that. You actually want to go to this setting here. Default is auto. You want to change to manual. So in this way, the screen will stays on all the time. 100% does not matter if you cover the eyepiece, which is the EVF here. So in the auto modes, because the camera does not know if you're using the monitor or if you choose to use the EVF, something blocks the sensor EVF. You actually switch to EVF and the monitor shuts off. That sometimes gets very annoying. Probably, at least for myself, 99.98% of chance I'm using the monitor, not using EVF. I want the monitor to stay on all the time, and make sure it just goes into this setting here and change it to manual. So yeah, that's just this. Continue. Grip lines. For me, I still like to use rule of third growth, so I choose that. Next, continue shoot lens, leave that. Custom keys, which is assign custom functionalities to all those customizable buttons. Before we want to set up all the custom function buttons, you need to figure out which button is for which. For example, custom button 1, so that's C1 on your grip here, and button 2 is the C2 button here. 3 is the C3, 4 over there, and wheels and knobs and all the buttons over there, they're all customizable. So here, the first one is for shooting photos. Obviously, you can see the icon there, so we are not going to bother that. Directly go down to movies and control wheel. So first of all, for me, I would like to set the control wheel to Y balance. So let's click that. Custom button 1, which is C1. I choose focus mode. Custom C2 for me is for the APS-C mode. So if you're shooting in full frame using 20mm on the full frame into APS-C Super 35, it will become 30mm equivalent in full frame. So sort of like zoom in and zoom out using the crop mode. The C3 button here, so choose profile pictures, and now the C4 buttons, set this as a touch control. The screen here on the A7III is touch screen, but unfortunately it does not support touch settings, like change settings using touch operation, but you do have capable to use touch to focus. Yeah, here we go. All right, so that's the first page, and then we go to second page. So first of all is the multi-select center button, which is the joystick here, this button. So this we're gonna set to gamma display assist. So I use that to get the reference. And the center button, let's go to focus magnifier. If I want to make sure the focus is right, it's correct, so I use this to zoom in, make sure it's focused dead on with that object. Left button here to show picking displays. The right button still as the same on the camera here, which is ISO, like that. Down button, which is the zebra. So we got a picking and zebra, one area here. Page 3, AEL button obviously is this one here, the AEL button, and AF on. Focus hold button, which is a button that on your lens. So for some of the Sony lens like 70 to 200 or like 24 and some other G Master lens or some Sigma lens, they have a button on the lens. So that button is the focus hold button. So if you do have that sort of lens, you can assign the button to different functionalities. For now, I'm just going to take care of the AEL. So that I'm going to change to monitor brightness. In case I'm shooting outside, I can quickly change my monitor brightness using that button. Autofocus on button, which I believe I set to center lock on AF. So alright, so that's all the customized button on this camera here, except the focus hold, which is going to be on the lens there. So that's pretty much for our customized button settings. Press menu, accept that, and let's scroll down to function menu set. So function menu is the menu that when you press this FN button here, this FN is the function button. When you hit that button, you can see different selections for different functionalities. This is the things that we want to change it. There are lots of functions that we already assigned to dedicate buttons, so we don't need that. We just go into that function menu set. We're gonna leave that, the first one, to nothing, not set. I only set the things that I may or may not need, or I think is useful in some cases. So after 2 is the audio recording level. So I choose that. I can just quickly change my audio recording level if I think the level is too high or too low. And next, the upper 3. We're going to change that to autofocus tracking sensitivity. This is just some function that I think I may or may not need, but could be useful in some cases. I'll just leave it there. 4, change that to SNQ frame rate. If we were shooting SNQ, we can quickly change SNQ frame rate in this function menu here. We don't need necessarily goes into that menu system again. And the upper 5, we're gonna use that to show the marker display. Upper 6 state as a metering mode, so that's not going to change. I'm just leave that. Let's go to lower. Same thing. The first one, we want to leave that blank, not set. And the lower 2. It's future menu again. So another one is in the function menu setting here. I've originally set the function menu, the lower one, the second one, which is the lower 2, to aspect ratio. I don't know why I set that at the beginning, but that have nothing to do with shooting in videos. They only changed the aspect ratio in photos. So I actually changed that, the lower 2, to creative styles. I've already had my C3 custom 3 button here to a profile pictures. Profile picture and creative style are similar and different things, right? They do give you different looks and different colors and different style of looking, but for profile pictures, it's more like flat profile picture. For example, the XL2, XL3, HLG, and then you need to involve of post-productions and do some color gradings and do more works compared to the creative style. And creative styles, whichever the footage you get is already applied on that footage. The creative style also are customizable, so I will do a separate video on the profile pictures and the creative style as well. When you don't want to use profile pictures, you can totally just use a creative style profile. For example, if I'm shooting family videos and vlogs, I don't want to do some post-production color grading, too much work for me, so I can just totally use creative styles in that way. And since we already have white balance signed, I'm just gonna use that to change our picking color. Next then is zebra, the zebra level, lower 5, we're gonna leave that as it is, and lower 6, choose not set. Okay, that's the setting for function menus, and exit. Next, we're gonna leave everything the same. We go to next page. Still, everything is the same. Go to next page. Still same, nothing to change. Wi-Fi or Bluetooth playback 2, 3, nothing. 4, nothing. Setup 1, the same. Not going to bother that. Display quality, you can choose to high, but if you choose high, your battery is gonna drain faster. I usually prefer to just using standard, should be okay. Power save start time, I still can change that to 5 minutes, because when you in 1 minute or 30 seconds, the camera will automatically shut off in 1 minute. Sometimes it's really annoying for me, so I just leave that to 5 minutes. Auto power off temperature, I just choose to use high. A7III still overheats sometimes, for sure. Not as good as like CT4, CT6 or the A7S3. Obviously, it's still using a 6K sensor downsampling to 4K, so it still has this processing 24 megapixels 6K footage to 4K. It still overheats a little bit. So even though right now I'm holding this camera for about like 30 minutes now, the recording time, I already feel the camera's pretty warm now. NTSC PAL, so that depends on which area you're in. So we are in North America, so just this is NTSC for us. Step 3, everything leave the same, and 4K output, so you don't need to change anything there. Let's skip to the next thing. So prioritize record media, we're going to go to slot 1, which is UHS 2 card. The auto switch media, we want to turn that on. Once the slot 1 card is full, it will automatically start record to card 2. Or you can change that recording mode to, for example, simultaneously recording the same time to both card 1 and card 2. Like safety things, just in case, like backup, if you have one of the cards failure, then you still have footage on another card. But for me, I basically never had a SD card issue. Hopefully never will. So I still trusting my SD cards because I want more storage. Right, I just gonna leave that to standard. So one card is full and automatic to the second card. That's pretty much it. So main menu setting is different a menu. Since we already customized all those buttons, there's no necessary for us to set up the main menu settings. But for people who are using X6400, X81, 600 cameras, those cameras that has less customizable buttons, you can use that to compensate some of the functionality, so you're still able to quickly go into and change your settings. But maybe we can still add something there. For example, we can add file formats, of course. Let's add that, and probably a proxy recording in case. There we go, picture profile. And for sure you need to have that is the format, recording media settings. Okay, so that's all fill up the first page here. Although some of the functionality we can go strictly to category 2 for movie mode, I just leave my settings here. So whenever I want to change my setting, I just press the menu, then go strictly to my menu here, the page, so I can just quickly toggle up, choose whichever the function that I want to choose. I'm going to change that to 4K. See, you don't see my screen anymore, but I do see my menus here on my screen. When you choose shoot in 1080p, the monitor on the A7III will shut off. When you choose 4K, both monitor stays on. Here we go, guys. So that's much all the settings that you need to set up on your A7III. You don't have to, but this is all my personalized settings that on my camera here that I use to shoot videos. And now, since you got all the settings here, hope you guys learned something new. So if you like this video, please hit that like button, leave a comment below. Okay, thank you guys very much for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers, guys.